In this informational clip, I want to show how we assemble a packet that contains metal. Here we have the brass. It's a brass sheet, about 22 gauge. This is faux tortoise shell that has Japanese rice paper backing to it to give the additional red color that I need. This particular section is pewter, and these are all been cut out ahead of time to fit what our pattern is going to be. This is just the backing that is material, scrap material that is 1/8 of an inch thick. This is the pattern that will ultimately be glued onto another backer board that is 1/16 of an inch. This will help with stabilization of the packet. There are other items over on the left that are important to the assembly. This is a device that has the water, the old glue, brown glue taped type of watering system where we'll be able to run the tape. This is the tape itself, and then we'll cut it up into the exact lengths. These are parts of a saw that will be used to score the back side of the brass and the pewter to be able to hold the glue much better. Now we're going to take the back side of the pewter, and we will later do the back side of the brass the same way, and we'll score it in the fashion with the teeth of some sort of a hacksaw. And this is so that whenever we glue this to the substrate, that it'll have a better gluing surface. The metal attaches very poorly to a wooden substrate because the wood has a tendency to move with moisture and dryness, whereas metal does not do so much, and therefore the adherence is very difficult. The original methods with which they used to do this was to use garlic to put on the backside, and then later use fish glue. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. So whenever I get all these pieces cut out, I'm going to initially use the garlic over the backside, and then use fish glue to be the additional adherent to the carcase, to the background itself. Usually you do these etchings 45 degrees and then turn it and do 45 degrees in this way. Now we'll take the strips that I've made for being able to make the packet, and I've done this in two different sizes, alongside and then the ends. And we'll first begin with the faux tortoise shell. So we'll begin first by the long side. Wetting the glued surface. And progressively rolling it over the sides. Do the same thing on the opposite side. Trying to make sure it's flat. So that's one side. And next we do the ends. Okay, the next thing to do is to put a piece of what we call grease paper. This grease paper will act as a lubricant between the two metal sheets so that it will lubricate the blade when the blade passes through, and prevents also a lot of buildup of the metal fragments between the teeth itself. So next we'll put on the pewter. And there goes the pewter. And we'll do the same thing with the tape. Long piece goes on first. I have read where some people have glued these layers together, but it becomes a bit of a problem when removing them because the pieces themselves have a tendency to break whenever you... This seems to hold all right. I've been through a number of packets so far. Okay, we'll do the other side. And then here's the last end, which will complete the pewter layer. So now we're building our packet as we go along. Next, have another layer of waxed or grease paper. And then the brass. And here goes on the brass with the grease paper on the back side. And the same thing. Squeeze it together to make sure that the centers are flat down against it when you cinch the tape. Now this part is where we put that top backer board, which is a 1/16 of an inch thick. And I'm going to do the same type of taping to make the packet with that. Then after that is where the pattern goes. The pattern goes right on top. that will complete our packet, and then we can start our cutting. I like to do one other step, which is I've got some butcher paper. That butcher paper I put on actually next. Most of the texts don't call for this, but I do that, and I glue that on this particular surface so I don't have any waving stuff going on whenever I do my cutting. And then on top of that is where I will put the pattern itself. That seems to give some stability to this top backer board piece whenever you're cutting very fine areas. So here we go. We'll tape the top backer board, which is, again, like I say, is a 1/16 of an inch. The backer board on the back that we started out with, remember, was 1/8 of an inch. That on just like I want. Now there you are, there's the final packet. And again, like I say, we'll put on the butcher paper on next, and then last we'll go on this. And once we get that glued on and it dries overnight, then we have our layered packet. Okay, now comes the time where we put the paper on, and here again is the packet. And there's the top piece. And the first we'll be putting on is the butcher paper. Then we'll follow that with the actual pattern itself. Once we do that, then I have a piece of plastic, because the hide glue, the animal glue, does not stick to it. So we'll put that over there, and then we'll put it in the press and put it in for overnight. So here we go. The hide glue is mixed up about 50% of what it normally should be whenever you want to put the pattern on. Hold the brush straight up and down and go in circles till you get all the surfaces, and do it fairly quickly and cover all the areas. And then once you get that on, then you want to use a brush of some type so that the paper gets melted in with the grain itself. So there's the paper. Then you take a piece of newspaper on top of it so that you don't get the brush, and you brush so that the glue comes off on the back side of the paper, and also meshes everything into there we go, that's better. That gets into the grain itself, and the little wrinkles that are occurring will hopefully be pressed out. So here we go, the next. Brush straight up and down for the pattern. Again, we'll get our brush. The other side. We'll put our plastic piece on. and put it in the press for overnight. And here's the packet made. It's glued overnight, nice and smooth, ready to drill holes, ready to cut. It's the back side. And that's it.